know that you used to live on the East Coast, and you found yourself coming to California, and you have lots of layers to what you do that really enhances what you do for real estate. So I'd love to have you unpack that a little bit from your beginnings in on the East Coast and what brought you to the West Coast and got you interested into helping others create wealth through real estate. So you want to unpack that a little bit and tell us a little bit about some of the other layers. Like I know that you like doing home improvements, and I know that you want to be mind and body conscious with yoga as well. And you have the marketing background, which is also needed for the real estate part. So why don't you unpack that for us a little bit so people can get to know you a little bit more and where your background comes from and how those strengths can help them create generational wealth as well.
Yeah, so I did grow up in the East Coast. I grew up in southeastern Virginia. And so growing up, I was able to see my father was in the real estate and still is in the real estate industry. So it was something that I was able to observe and see. And when I lived in New York, that's where I got really involved with marketing. I worked in house and at agencies. So serving customers and fulfilling their needs. Customer service was always something ingrained in me and making sure how to deliver on them. So whether it was a digital asset, which I see such strong value in, video, the method that we're using right now, for example, is something that I love. I think it's a very strong platform to use. It was those types of social media also for marketing and all types of marketing and advertising across the board really was honing in on those skills. And when I moved to California, that's when I was studying for the real estate exam to kind of bridge that gap moving to the West Coast. My movement practice and health and wellness has always been a huge component. If you don't have health, it's hard to get wealth or any of those other things. I would think you want to be around to enjoy
That's a
it.
great tagline.
There you go. Thought of it on the spot. But just in terms of creating generational wealth too, like you want to be around for the generations previous and next as well. And to be honest, when you go tour a house or if you're new to home ownership, especially, sometimes if you go into a house nervous and that type of, I don't know, anxious feeling inside, you might not make the best decision for you or for your family or for your significant others. So I'm a huge component of coming in with a solid mindset, a grounded mindset, and that's where yoga and breath work can really come into to kind of tie that all together. So taking your time, really thinking through things, working with the right people is all things that I think are really important. So that's kind of what brought me out here. And again, servicing clients in that way, one of the biggest decisions of your life, and also a way to find freedom in the American dream, which I'm a huge proponent for. Finding freedom through home ownership and real estate, and yeah, so I'll hand the mic back to you.
Yeah. So how many times when you know that buyer is nervous, they're a first time buyer, they're making that first offer, and they're just counting sheep at night, waiting to find out what's going on. Maybe it's a counter offer situation. Do you start giving them breathing tips because of your yoga background and things like that?
I do, but I wish I do it more often because sometimes you pick up the phone to talk to a client, they're so stressed out, you'll hear a lot of yelling or a lot of, cursing or this and that. So I really do think it helps. And I'm a big proponent of the box breath. It's a simple 4 count breath, and it really starts to slow down your nervous system, slow down that fight or flight response. So yeah, I will happily give a breathing cue on an open house or in the middle of a deal because coming to this industry when things are moving fast with a clear head, with a calm head, I think can really benefit everyone see a deal through from beginning to end.
Yeah. With that in mind, what advice would you have for a buyer who's on the fence right now, and they're, you know, with us that's been in the industry for a while, we have history on our side because this is what we live and breathe every single day. But when somebody enters into, hey, I'm got the thought of buying a house, but maybe I should wait. Maybe prices are going to go down. Maybe interest rates could be better. Uh, you know, is now a great time to buy real estate? What would you say to somebody maybe you just met and they're asking that question that helps them realize that maybe now really is the best time?
Well, in full transparency, we're living in 2026. This is the reality. This is the year that we're in. We're not 5 years ago. We're not 10 years ago. But knowledge is king. I would always recommend them to talk to a trustworthy lender just to understand their financial landscape and understand where their affordability is. Knowledge is power. So knowing that there's no real strings attached in terms of no hard credit implication or anything like that. Just knowing where you are and seeing if you want to tweak it. Do you want more buying power? Can you work on your debt to income ratio? Are you good where you're at? And letting people also know about like what we just spoke about generational wealth, like getting involved, entering the real estate market now means you're not missing out 5 months down the road, 12 months down the road. So there's always ways when you work with creative partners such as lenders to perhaps get in now, and if rates change down the road, options to repackage loans and that sort of thing, to working with creative people. But getting involved now in the real estate market, if figuring out your affordability and letting that happen.
Yeah, no, that's great. I was just talking to one of my past clients. They bought their house. It was their first house, right? So they could have used those breathing tips that you had. And I said, "Hey, can you imagine when you first started looking at houses to now, and your house has gone up like 15, 20% over the last 5 years? I mean, on average, things go 3 to 5% per year, but it's compounding. So if you bought a $500,000 house, right, whether that's high, low, for whatever your marketplace is, if it goes up just 3%, that's 15K. That doesn't mean that the next year it goes up 15K, because if it goes up 3%, it's 3% of 515, not 500 even. So the second year it goes up a little bit more. The power of compounding, in this case, not interest, but the compounding effect. I mean, I think it was Einstein that said that was the eighth wonder of the world is compound interest, right? So yeah, I mean, getting off the fence and maybe breathing through your nervousness, but stepping forward is definitely the way to go. What about sellers? Is now a good time to sell your home?
Sure. Well, going back to getting that reality check, again, we're in 2026. So, what does that look like in the market? Is your house going to sell what it would sell in 2022? Maybe, maybe not. But can we price realistically? Can we price competitively? Are we ready to go? Do we need to adjust how we're looking at our comps and at our pricing? Because if not, maybe things will stick on the market a lot if we're pricing out of range for right here, right now. So rooting ourselves in reality and becoming honest with where we're at, and what the status of the house is. The house is made of physical materials. So we got land, we got the bones of the house. So that dictates a lot about what the current value is going to be as well. But let's hone it back into reality and make the best effort, which is to achieve the goal is to sell. So keeping that in mind.
Right on. And how much do you think the importance are pre-listing? So, they invite you on over to their house and they say, "Hey, what do you think it's worth?" And they think it's worth this, and the market's here. And um, what could somebody do to make their house more attractive to more buyers, right? Because in my opinion, you're no longer selling your house, you're selling it to a future buyer. So what are some tips that you can give a seller so it no longer is their home, it's the buyer's new home? And what are some things that somebody could do in the days or maybe a couple of weeks prior to it actually going live onto the market?
Sure. And this answer might be something that you've heard before, Dave, but I'm going to say it is is mostly to declutter. It's to kind of create that clean slate. And I'm not a feng shui expert by any means, but that psychological like knowledge feeling and effect when a potential buyer enters that house. Does it create a sense of ease? Does it, going back to that calm thing, can people start to envision their life within those four walls, so to speak, or within those bedrooms, within those kitchens, and that sort of thing? So personal belongings, we always say try to tuck them in drawers at least, if not get them removed. And if you do have a lot of junk or clutter, if there's a way to kind of get that out, off of property, again, going back to that feng shui balance, would probably be a great option. If not, you could always rent something like one of those pods or a storage or a basement to kind of consolidate. And I really think a nice fresh coat of paint, especially in the major rooms, goes a long way. And maybe it's something that you can tap a professional, but if you like creative projects, I maybe grab the kids or grab your significant other, and maybe that's a fun way to spruce up a couple spaces.
You're really stylish. You can tell in your appearance and everything else. And I follow you on social as well. I saw you painting your own deck, as a matter of fact, right? Uh, Maybe to help people out, uh, you might like the color red, but if I painted this room red, would that appeal to everybody? What are some of the things people should do so it has a broader appeal?
That's a great question. I can't remember what meeting I was sitting in, but I think somebody was talking about another agent was talking about a house that rooms were a black color or something very dark. And they were trying to go, when you start a house project, you have this vision in your mind, right? Or maybe you have a picture that you're trying to emulate or something like that. And maybe it was a vibe, a deco vibe, who knows, something like that. But darker colors can really close in a space. So they can make spaces look smaller instead of expansive. So lighter colors, there's this one paint that's a really good, but it's kind of a beigeish. It's not called mocha, but it's like a beige creamy color. So something more neutral, kind of again that clean slate feel. I think grays are pretty popular these days too, like lighter, warmer grays. Swiss Coffee is the name.
Okay.
That's the paint. When I was speaking to some contractors, they went with Swiss Coffee. It's good on both the trim and the walls.
Well, perfect. And well, how do we decide? And everything's going to be different, right? Just depending on the age of the home and whether they've kept up with styles and trends and such. What are the when do I decide if I redo something or I sell it as is, right? Like, what's that dividing mark for a seller on what they need to do to their house to get it ready for market? Or can I get my money back out of whatever I'm doing? Or am I better off not putting out the money because I'm not going to get it back?
That's a good question. And I think the way that I'll answer that is kind of say room dependent. Like I would kind of maybe think of a hierarchy of rooms. There's mostly kitchen, and a lot of times bathrooms are really important for people. That's where you attend every day. That's where people who are guests in your house attend every day. So sometimes, even if it's not a full makeover of those types of rooms, sometimes just certain aspects of it can help. Paint, like we talked about, maybe cabinetry or new vanity and things like that. Kind of piecemealing things maybe could be a nice approach if you don't really want to overhaul something from soup to nuts, and kind of give people a better first impression if you really don't want to spend all of that on the rehab up front. So I think that would be my answer.
What are some of the top like do's and don'ts, right? Whether it's the buy side or if you're selling your house, what advice would you give to somebody who's just starting on their journey of what they should do to maybe even just get started?
Well, I always say it to the buyers, once I have an initial conversation and they say, "Oh, what I say, ask them what do they visualize? What are they seeing?" I always kind of relate them back to the lender. I said, "Let's really know the finances first." I mean, at the end of the day, it's about like timeliness and efficiency, and getting to that goal again, which is home ownership. So we can look at houses till the cows come home, but are we being realistic, like rooting in reality with those types of things? And for sellers, um, keeping as much keeping as little negligence of the property, I think, is going to always be your best bet. So that it's never too late to start that. So even if time has passed in leading up to a sale. It's never too late. Like if you see something at your house that you can start to fix, or maybe you have the means to hire to fix, it could always kind of help you in the long run. So just taking care, again, they're physical assets, and they do need maintenance and management and that sort of thing. So little things along the way, and maybe it could also help you discover some of your hobbies or some of your interests. For example, if you like being outside and on hikes, maybe you do some more yard work. And no, it doesn't sound like a great vacation or a great time away, but just planting or getting more used to the soil in your backyard can also be a nice substitute for a road trip or a time away too. And then over time or in the long run, it would definitely add that value back into the house, knowing that landscaping is something that you have under your belt.
Yeah, no, that's great. And so if somebody was thinking about it, I you being an expert in this field, would it be okay for them to say, "Hey, I'm thinking about selling my house. Can you come by and tell me what projects I should work on that, for only a couple of bucks, maybe it's more than a couple of bucks, but for a low entry could have a big wow factor on it." Is that part of your consulting service that you do?
Yes, I love that idea. I think that's great. I think organizing a meeting up front between realtor and between potential sellers to know what that could look like, a little sprucing up here, a little reorganizing there, whatever that would be. So always happy to go through the house, get a nice tour from the owners, see how the grounds look, see how the inside of the house looks, kind of do a inspection sort of in a way, and figure out, also look at major appliances, even things like electric. When was a house built? When was the last update for things like electric? Or if there's solar energy, that sort of thing. Even HVAC and plumbing, all those things are usually top of home buyers lists in terms of, do they need to make immediate repairs? Are things outdated in the broader sense, and in those nuts and bolts too? So it could be a great way to figure out how much time and energy, including money, you want to invest upfront. And that's definitely part of the realtor role as I see it.
That's great, and I'm sure you've got like handyman and people like that who you could probably refer to, saying, "Hey, I needed this, but I don't know how to do that." Right? Like if we wanted to put new lights up or whatever it may be to brighten up a space, you have a list of vendors or your team, so to speak, that can help out with that.
Definitely enjoy working with Central Valley vendors. So all across the board, we live in the Central Valley, and so there's definitely a ton of well-rounded vendors to work with. And over the years, I've definitely found some that I would work with, some that I wouldn't work with so much, but that makes me feel very secure in giving recommendations to clients if and when they need that. Having that Rolodex and creating value for my clients in that way, I think, is very important, because going back to the physicality of the house, things are going to need fixing, things are going to need repairs. Who do we call? Who do we lean on to extend the life?
Yeah, yeah. And the relationship with that, I found in my experience that relationship kind of trumps everything, in the sense that, you know, I'm sure everybody's had a bad experience one time or another where they said it was going to be this, and when they're finished, the whatever the price or the end result wasn't what they imagined it to be. So one of the best ways is to get a referral. So on what if a buyer finds a place and the seller didn't put all that work into it, then you can help them with like people to, hey, we want to do this project or we want to do that project.
Yeah, I mean, you see things across the board with that. I mean, there's a lot of times when sellers even don't know what's going on their house, like maybe there's a leak subterranean or some other issue, and it definitely puts a damper. You find these things out in your inspections, and it definitely puts a damper, or usually puts a damper on the buyer's decision on how they want to move forward. So definitely getting quotes, multiple quotes, bidding for different projects, but also just to extend the question a little bit, sometimes we do see buyers mid escrow and with inspections pull out. So sometimes repairs are more, I think maybe from what I've seen, individuals have different thresholds on what they want to get involved with in terms of time and energy to focus on repairs or things potentially not getting fixed right and that sort of thing. So unfortunately, sometimes you can't save what the buyer feels in terms of what they want to be involved with repairs. But with trusty people, with trusty vendors, there are solutions to be had.
Yeah, no, that's great. That's great advice. So, if I bought a place and the seller didn't do all those things, and, maybe over time, I mean, it's not like you're going to sell the house and be gone tomorrow. You're going to be their agent for life, right? I mean, so you can help along the way, and, maybe they want to paint their deck like you did yours. Um, well, this is fantastic. I really wanted to thank you for coming on over and spending some time and getting to know a little bit more about you, and is there anything else that you want to convey out to either your sphere or your past clients or any upcoming clients on what they would want to do to get a hold of you, and when should they start their timing? Maybe they're not ready yet, or any advice on that, like, hey, I don't think I have enough for the down payment, as an example. That's kind of a hot topic.
Well, as you know, as being a lender, there are so many creative options for home ownership. And I truly believe that home ownership is a great way to find your freedom. Central Valley has a lot of great opportunities. We're in close proximity to two of California's most major cities, which is Sacramento, our state capital, and also San Francisco. So we find investor opportunities, even consider 1031 exchanges, which is something I'm digging a little bit more into this year myself, to help out clients in that regards. And we see commuters, so an opportunity to raise family or have a home base in the Central Valley and still be able to commute to a Bay Area job. And even retirees, we have lovely over 55 communities in Central Valley as well. So it's never too early to have a conversation. And again, like I said, knowledge is king, in my opinion. So getting the knowledge in early, working together to find your timeline, find your areas that work well for you. So yeah, I appreciate it.
Hey, you said something which I know what it is because it was an industry term, but people who might be watching this, they might not be too familiar with it. You said a 1031 exchange. What the heck is that? Can you go ahead and elaborate on what a 1031 exchange is and why somebody might want to do that?
Yes, so it's actually part of our tax code. And yeah, it's super interesting because there is an opportunity if you hold real estate for a certain amount of time, um, and if you do not live in it for over 2 out of the last 5 years, so it has to be not your primary residence. And there's also some other stipulations too, with if it's a vacation home or this, that, and the other. But majority of that, you can sell your place and with a tax shield, not pay property taxes on that sale, and defer that money that you have to a new property of of that same value, like kind, yes. So there's opportunity also to do it in the reverse. If you have your eye on a property, you can identify property, you can purchase, and then within a certain time frame, 180 days, you can sell your your current investment property. So it's a great way again to grow your portfolio, to expand generational wealth in real estate.
Yeah, no, that it's a great one, and it's one that we don't talk about in the industry. But you had said in your intro that your father has done a lot of flips and things like that. So if I own an investment property, and maybe I want to get out of a single family and buy a multifamily, or maybe I've already taken all the depreciation, which is a tax thing, right, out of that property. So I want to start that clock over. So I would sell that one and buy another one. So it's good that and can help advise on the tax advantages of things like that. Not that we want to give out tax advice because we legally can't, but we know the outer surface so we can break things down for people. What about somebody who's renting? Since we're talking a little bit on that fringe of taxes, what are some advantages of owning your house versus renting, especially when it comes to the taxes. And we talked about equity a little bit earlier as well.
Well, as a home buyer, as a homeowner, let me start again. As a homeowner, you are able to deduct tax from, you are able to deduct on your taxes. So I work with a tax professional, so they are able to compute for me, but there are different tax breaks that you can utilize in home ownership as well.
Yeah, no, that's great. And being in lending, we get asked this question all the time. So, the property taxes and now mortgage insurance is tax deductible if it's your primary residence. Then you have the equity gain and, of the house going up in value. Plus, then you have a 30-year fixed rate mortgage. You're paying down that mortgage. So sometimes people's eyes get really big when they go, oh my gosh, payment's that much more than rent, but you're not saving for a down payment anymore because you already own it. So now you're maybe creating that wealth for the next place or generational or whatever it may be. So when you're making that bigger payment than rent, you're actually putting it into savings. So, all right. Well, that's great. And I really wanted to thank you for your time today. This has been great getting to know you a little bit more, a little bit well rounded. So, those of you that are watching, you need somebody who knows about tax advantages, who knows about investments, who knows how to about working with buyers, working with sellers, how to improve your house. You got your gal right here. So, for the camera, what's the easiest way to get a hold of you?
Text, call, email, Instagram, LinkedIn, you name it.
You're
I
on
think
all
I
the
have a
socials.
presence. Some better than others, so you can be the judge if you so choose to judge. But yeah, so texting is probably the quickest, but I love my Instagram, so I get those notifications. That could be a very easy way to get in touch as well. I appreciate that.
Awesome. Hey, thank you very much for coming down today. It was great getting to explore and unpack a lot of different things. So again, thank you for your time.